Soul wounds originate in other lifetimes. It is something that the soul is carrying from a lifetime to a lifetime because it didn't manage to tap into its full potential, or to awaken specific spiritual gifts, or didn't master certain lessons. Every soul sets intentions before entering the incarnation, and some intentions are very abstract, like becoming love. And so the soul chooses the specific way that would help the soul to become that love, perhaps through being involved in situations that would normally shut down the heart. And the true mastery is to keep the heart open no matter what. Or it can be a specific intention, like creating a family with a specific soulmate. And when the soul doesn't fully use those intentions, doesn't fully experience them, then it is something that the soul is carrying into the next life. This is what most people understand as karma. Karma is just those intentions, experiences that the soul wanted to have, and it didn't happen for some reason. Mostly it's because, as you know it from your own life, you may be postponing the important decisions in your life. You may be preparing to make that huge transition, and you are waiting and waiting. And then when we are waiting, we eventually have to take those things into different lifetime, because there isn't enough time to make everything happen in one lifetime if we just keep pushing everything for some unspecific time in the future. And so those soul wounds is like a collection of things that didn't work out. Or it may be that the intention actually did work out, but the soul created some kind of fragmentation or experienced a trauma. So it means, like, we know it again from our lives, like something difficult, challenging happens, and we have a couple of options how to deal with it. But if we are in resentment towards what happened, and it's something that we carry in our hearts and let it pollute our hearts, eventually we create a soul wounding within us. And so this is the topic of today's session. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Sylvia Salow, and I help Lightworkers and starseeds to remember who they are. And I help people on their ascension journey and in embodiment their Christ consciousness. And in this video, I want to give you a couple of deep soul wounds that many people carry. And the reason I want to share it with you is because the remembering is the healing. When you start remember, you allow that healing, because when there is some kind of soul wound or fragmentation, there is some stream of energy that couldn't fully move through certain experiences or through the mind and the emotional body, and it got stuck on the way. And as we start healing and remembering, we are able to make that energy move again. And then this is where the soul becomes integrated and whole again. Now the soul is, of course, whole, but it can be fragmented and leave certain pieces of the soul kind of stuck in different times and situations. It's not exactly the soul, it's just some part of that consciousness is stuck. And this is something that we have to pull back to ourselves to really feel whole and healed. So the first soul wound is a feeling like you failed God, or you somehow failed in your mission. And this can be very subtle. Most people, don't sit and think about it. Oh, I feel like I failed God. Of course not. But this is something that the soul carries. It's like in that subconscious mind. And so when you feel like you failed God, it can be because there was some important moment in our history where certain decisions needed to happen, or you needed to awaken specific gifts that would be able to shift timelines, and for some reason it didn't happen. Now this feeling like you failed God is very individual. If you have it, it doesn't mean like you failed God, but it creates that feeling of guilt or even shame. And many people carry within themselves shame and guilt. And I want to say a few things about it. when you have those lower emotions like a guilt or shame, it's almost like somebody would put a veil over your perception of reality and perception of yourself. And they would want to pull you into the 3D. One of the reasons many people are still on the earth and keep coming here is because they have those deep emotions. It's that emotional body that's getting dense and heavy, and it's kind of sinking into the third dimension. So if you have any guilt or shame, it is not a fact, it's not a reality. It doesn't mean that you actually did something so terrible that cannot be forgiven. Because God is mercy. God has pure love. You maybe felt yourself in your mind, but never God. And so if you have this kind of sensation or feeling there is a guilt and you failed God, it's likely not true. Of course, like I work with light workers, I help them to go into different lifetimes, to remember things, to heal things. And with some people, we were able to tap into memories of the fall of consciousness. And as you can imagine, it's not the coolest memory to have, right? And so there is lots of wounding and fragmentation and healing that needs to take place, and understanding. Because no one really wanted to fall, right? And I made a different video about the fall of Lemuria and Atlantis and how it's wounding the soul. So I'll link it here for you and you can watch it. The next very common soul wound is the misuse of power. Now, not everyone has it, but quite many light workers do. I would say that like 95-ish, even more % of my clients have this wounding. And if you are afraid that you would misuse power, what you are going to do is to stop your evolution. You allow yourself to grow into a certain level. And then that will become your comfort zone and you don't keep growing further. Because if you did, you would eventually have to step into your soul's power and take responsibility. And maybe you have that memory, remembrance, that in some other time when it mattered, you misused that power. And so this is again something that needs healing. And when it comes to power, I just want to say that power is like consciousness or energy. It's a certain spectrum of light. And when it merges with the soul in certain lifetime, then the soul needs to balance that human self, the soul, and the power. And the power is like you would be carrying something very heavy on your shoulders. And the question is, can you stand straight and can you walk with your shoulders straight? Or is that power going to somehow strangely suffocate you or take you out of the balance? This power is impersonal. It's not like somebody's specific power, but we are learning to work with those higher energies. And so in every lifetime, some souls, they make the choice, okay, now I'm going to master power. And they have to really manage lots of things. But when you lose that balance, then of course there can be that misuse of power. And these are very deep soul wounds. And if you have it, you cannot heal it or solve it by escaping from it or escaping from yourself. You cannot heal it by shutting down your gifts or by ignoring it. Because if we don't understand power and how to work with it, we are going to misuse it anyway. The next soul wound is the fear of being seen by other people standing in your gifts, standing in your light. And again, this is very deeply seated in many people. I would say that most people have it. And so when you are afraid to be seen, you are going to be hiding. And you will have many distractions in your life that would take you from the things that you actually need to do, that your soul wants to do. And so those distractions can be like, talking to a friend on the phone when you feel like you need to meditate or center yourself. Or it may feel like giving your light away when you should actually build up that overflow and share from that overflow of energy and light. Again, I made one video on this topic and I'll link it here. We always want to share from the overflow. Or a distraction could be like browsing the internet when you should be doing other things. And even the way you spend the time. How do you use that free time that you have? I don't think the issue is that we are running out of the time or we don't have enough time. It's more like how we use it. And so all those are very unconscious distractions because you don't want to be seen. But you don't want to be seen because you are not ready to see yourself. Because to see yourself means that you remember who you are. And when you remember who you are, why you are here, where you came from, where you are headed next, then you cannot be escaping from yourself. Once you fully see yourself, you will not be afraid of other people seeing you. But there is that unconscious fear, if other people see you, then maybe they will see something that you haven't seen in yourself yet. So I would invite you to meditate on or journal on these two questions. The first question is, what is it that I'm not seeing in myself? And wait, you ask that question and you don't have to hurry into having the answer. Of course you will have some answers, but let that question to really sit with you and allow it to go deeper and deeper. So what is it that I'm not seeing in myself? And the second question, what is it that I'm not claiming in myself? Where are you hiding from the authority of your soul? Where are you hiding from your gifts? Where are you not claiming who you are and whom you have become? And even all that wisdom from all those lifetimes, where are you hiding from it? Where haven't you claimed it yet? Meditate on those questions and contemplate them. Just sit with them. Keep asking yourself. The more you keep asking yourself, the more things will open up within you. So it doesn't have to be necessarily conscious. Some people will receive very specific answers. Some people will just feel there's some energy shifting. Either is good. Just let it shift the energy and open up your consciousness. The next soul wound is that you love other people, but you don't trust them. You feel like you can't trust other people. You always have the armor around yourself. You put up high walls. You run away when you could actually commit and go deeper into a relationship with somebody. I've seen so many people running away from really good relationships with soulmates just because they were actually running from themselves, because they felt like they cannot trust other people. And this is that fear of commitment. I made a video, I'll link it down below for you. Please check the description box, I'll link you more videos related to those topics. And so when you have this fear that you cannot trust other people, what is it about really? Is it true? Or is it because you cannot trust yourself? And the reason you feel like you can't trust yourself is because the heart isn't fully awakened. It's not enough to go through a heart chakra opening. It needs to stay open and it needs to go deeper, it needs to be fully ignited. And when your heart is fully open, you are not afraid of other people anymore. You start to see other people correctly. You understand that not everyone wants to hurt you. You understand that people have bad day and may say something, but it doesn't mean that they are bad people. You start to understand that you can invite your soul tribe into your life. That things don't have to end up in some negative way. So this is very common soul wound, because of course based on the history, even from the history that we have the records about, you can see how people were hurting other people, so of course we all have it within us. But it's all about awakening your heart. When you have awakened heart, you don't have that fear anymore. So work on that And again, I'll link more resources for you below, so please check it. The next soul wound I want to mention here is the fear that you are going to evolve faster than your family, your friends, or other people, and you won't be able to relate to them. So again, what you do unconsciously is that you keep bringing your frequency down. You make yourself denser, because it feels like if you just kept growing, you would be alone. And nobody really wants to walk alone. And there is also that memory in all of us that in Atlantis or Lemuria, or even still in ancient Egypt at some points, we were surrounded by our soul tribe. So we were working together. For instance, just like priestesses. Or a group of starseeds would be working on crystals and so on. So people were working together, sharing their soul gifts. And so we have this memory within us. And so we don't want to really walk this path alone. And we shouldn't. But there is a thing, and it is that when you are afraid to evolve because you would outgrow other people in your life, it's your ego kidding you. Seriously, because you may think that you are more evolved than you actually are, which is not correct perception of ourselves, which is something, it's one of those distortions that the ego does. And the second thing is that if you actually kept growing and wouldn't be stopping that flow, you would be opening up doors for other people. You would be able to hold that consciousness and light for many people. And so actually eventually there would be more people joining you than if you are suffocating your growth. Also in this time, we are ascending as a collective. Again, I made a video about it. But it's like that common collective energy is helping each of us. But at the same time, you have to find your own individual ascension journey, because it depends on the way you descended into this dimension. Not everyone descended or got here in the same way. And so that's why you need to really follow your own guidance. And that's why you have to keep evolving. You cannot be waiting for other people. Because what if your best friend came here differently and has a bit different ascension journey? And then if you are waiting for them and you want to do it together, you are just doing, not good thing to each other, like you're slowing each other down. So think about it. What would happen if you didn't slow down your evolution? If you didn't have those, weeks or even months where you go down, you are denser. If you could smooth out those cycles and just keep opening up like a flower, what would happen? How would it feel? And what you could create from that energy. So this is all from me today. Of course, there are many more soul wounds, but I wanted to share those few with you. And if you like those videos, please like, share and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And I'll see you in the next one.